Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of my Survivor 41 coverage. Today we're covering episode 6. We'll do a quick recap, talk about the new twist, do a review, and then get into some predictions for next week. So, at the start of the episode, we're at the UA camp. Ricard and Shan are discussing the extra vote and who should have it to hold on to at the merge. Shan wants it back, but Ricard is hesitant to give it back, but he does eventually give it back to her. We go to the Yasa camp where they get a letter about the merge. They promise to stick together, but Liana is skeptical of Xander. Luvu, they get their letter to go to the merge. They promise to stay Luvu 6, but nobody really seems to actually believe it. We then go to a challenge where Jeff Probst tells them that they will have to earn their way into the merge. Players are divided into two teams through a rock draw, and two players will draw gray rocks and not participate. The two that were not picked, that got the gray rocks, were Nasir and Erica. The winning team will get to choose who they want to join them. Players have to dig up a big ball, roll it over some logs, climb up the ball to grab keys, and then use the ball to climb up a tower. And then they have to scale a slope and then solve a sliding word scramble puzzle. The team with Danny, Deshawn, Sydney, Ricard, and Evie win, and they choose Nasir to join them. They get to have their merge buffs and a merge feast, and they get safety at the first vote. Erica has to go to Exile Island alone for 2 nights. So then we go and see the merge tribe at their merge feast. Evie talks about how great it is to get the food. They all talk about how hard this season has been and how little they've eaten. We then go over to Exile Island where Erica is alone, but gets some rice and some clean water. We get a little bit of Erica's background after not really getting too much of hers yet. Then we go to the other group, which will be referred to as the Mergatory group, as Xander calls it. Xander feels down about losing, feels he might need to use his idol at the next tribal council. Shan reveals that Liana has an advantage to Tiffany. Liana doesn't like that, but still wants to work with Shan. Tiffany is worried about Liana keeping secrets and having other alliances. We then go and see all of them merge together. Everyone starts mingling. Xander and Nasir talk about their idols. And Nasir tells Xander that he has his back. They all figure Erica is the easy vote and seem to be planning on just voting her out at the first tribal council. Deshawn, Danny, Liana, and Shan all connect over the diversity, and they all want to work together. They would like to see the 4 of them in the final 4. We then go back to Exile Island, where Jeff shows up and surprises Erica. Erica feels like she's been left behind, so Jeff gives her an hourglass that he says allows her to change the outcome of the last challenge. I'll talk a little bit more about this at the end. And that ends part 1 of this episode, of the merge episode. So it's pretty short. There's no tribal council. There's not too much to talk about for this one. So the new twist is this hourglass. The player gets to choose to leave the hourglass as is and return to the game with nothing changed, or they can smash the hourglass and the game is flipped on its head, with those who won immunity losing their immunity and those that lost gaining it. So for my review, this episode is a little bit tough to judge since it's only half the episode. So with that said, I do wish they had just made it into a 2-hour episode and not split it up across 2 weeks. This episode sets up a lot of potential drama between players, such as Ricard and Shan or Tiffany and Liana. It also sets up some potential new alliances, such as Xander and Nasir, and the Diversity Alliance of Danny, Deshawn, Shan, and Liana. I like the idea of the players needing to earn their position in the merge, and with how tough the challenge seemed, I can only imagine how satisfying the victory was. Bringing back Exile Island was a cool idea, and it's given some great moments in the past, so I think it's awesome that they brought it back again. We'll see if it does lead to more cool moments. The Hourglass Twist I don't really like. I would want the person on Exile to have a chance at safety, but with how big a deal they made earning your spot in the merge and safety, it seems counterintuitive to give that person the power to strip them of that and give the immunity to the people who didn't earn it. Without the second part of this episode, this ends up being an enjoyable but almost pointless episode that could have some really bad repercussions. So I give it a 6 out of 10. For my predictions, right off the bat, I have to make the prediction that Erica will smash the Hourglass, as that's the only way for her to ensure her own safety. So that means that Deshawn, Danny, Nasir, Sydney, Evie, and Ricard are vulnerable. Danny has been pushing for wanting to keep the number of men from decreasing any further. So I think they will really push to keep any of the men from being voted out, and that would leave us with Evie or Sydney vulnerable. Normally the merge boot is a pretty significant player, and I think both Evie and Sydney have been set up well to be that. Sydney is in good with Danny and Deshawn, but has made herself a target to both Heather and Erica, so they could be pushing for her. Evie has also made a slight bond with Deshawn, so she could push for that to save her along with her still standing Yasa alliance, which Xander bonded with Nasir, so that might even strengthen the numbers in that alliance. I think we might be set up for a Sydney boot at the merge or at the next tribal council. Of our other players, Shan got some decent time in this episode once again. She had an argument with Ricard, which could be set up for one of them betraying the other. She also got in a good alliance with Deshawn, Danny, and Liana, but she did expose Liana's secrets to Tiffany, which Liana didn't like, so we'll see where that goes. With Erica smashing the Hourglass, I think that just makes her old tri-mates want to get rid of her even more, but it might give her a chance to bond with the other players and try to get in with them. But I do think she's going to have a little bit too big of a target on her back after making this flip in who has immunity. If Evie gets through the next vote, I think she'll be fine, but Tiffany was behaving a little bit erratic and could end up turning on the Yasa alliance, which might end up leaving Evie vulnerable. But as long as she gets through this next vote, I do think she's still one of our most likely candidates to win. Still between her and Shan, and I'd say Deshawn is in a very good spot now. That's it for this episode. Thank you for watching, and please hit like and subscribe if you're enjoying all of these podcasts.